Noy, pakisara muna dyan. Dito ka muna, Noy.
Hi, PMAP. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Pick, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's free webinar, Fostering Strength in Times of Adversity and Affliction, is hosted by the People Management Association of the Philippines, or PMAP. Due to the enhanced quarantine, all of us are in different parts of the metro. So in case of technical difficulties, please bear with us. To accommodate everyone, aside from Zoom, we are currently streaming on PMAP's Facebook page. So if you cannot access the Zoom link, please go to Facebook and search for the page of PMAP. That is People Management Association of the Philippines, or look for at PMAP 1956, at PMAP 1956. For the Q&A segment, you may send your questions using the Zoom chat box. Or for those who are watching on Facebook, please post your questions as comments. I would like to introduce our speaker for this afternoon's free webinar learning session. Our speaker has an extensive exposure in the field of human resources, management, and training. He has earned his MBA at the Ateneo Graduate School of Business and his BSBA management course, magna cum laude, at the Aquinas University in Legazpi City. He has a diploma in human resource development, compensation, labor relations, and HR planning and acquisition. He is a management and HR consultant, a training consultant, a seminar facilitator, and a keynote speaker on various programs on values, leadership, emotional intelligence, work-life integration, team alignment, career development, strategic planning, job hunting, as well as sales and customer service. Jesse was the 2011 president of PSTD and the 2016 president of PMAP. Currently, he is the president of the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers, or PAPS, and the 2020 PSTD chairman and member of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Council of Associations and Association Executives. Although he says he is a happy retiree, he is really working most of the time. In fact, more than when he was still working. He is a training and HR consultant of the ILO, ECOP, and PMAP, and he teaches HRM subjects at the master's program in people management at the Lyceum Graduate School in People Management, Lyceum Graduate School, and the San Beda Graduate School. He was recently bestowed the Fellow in People Management by the Philippine Society of Fellows in People Management and Registered Speaker Professional by the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers. And despite his hectic schedule, Jesse devotes his time as a diligent special minister of the Holy Communion at Our Lady of Remedies Parish in Malate, Manila. He is a music lover and knows how to play the piano, enjoys bonsai, gardening, and baking, and to fill up some empty spaces in his appointment book, Jesse breeds 38 dogs and a father to 2 adopted boys. So let's listen to him as he talks about fostering strength in times of adversity and affliction. Jesse, are you there?
Yes. Thank you very much, my friend Joe.
You're
If you
welcome.
see the screen now, that's the title, Fostering Strength in Times of Adversity and Affliction. I am from Legazpi. Yes, my own volcano is in Legazpi. And what does it mean? If I am a Bicolano, maybe I am an authority when it comes to fostering strength in times of adversity and affliction. I grew up with calamities, typhoons, earthquakes, floods. We have it. So I have that in me. I grew into that. But before we move on to anything, let us greet each other with this greetings. Would you somebody help me? It doesn't want to move. Why is it that it doesn't want to move? Okay, can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so magandang hapon. Ano ang pinakamahirap na nararanasan mo ngayong nasa ECQ tayo? What you can do is you can, if you are on FB Live, you can text it or post it, but answer me now. What is it what is your difficulty now that we are in the ECQ? With me, moving around, missing Jollibee, missing my clients, missing the platform because I'm a speaker, or maybe following the routine that I have. Let's greet again each other. Good afternoon. How are you managing these disruptions in your life now? This is the ultimate disruption. We have been discussing VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And now we are experiencing it. We are on a quarantine. We are on a lockdown. So how do you manage the disruption that we're being asked to be at our homes? For volatility, the antidote is vision. So what is our vision? What do we see after the quarantine is lifted? For uncertainty, understanding. Understanding the meaning of why we are all locked up. Then for complexity, it's clarity. We have the time to make our minds clear. And for ambiguity, it's the agility that is able to seize this moment. So let us start. Of course, this is the powerful time to have fear. I don't know the magnitude. It can be trivial as to where are you going to buy your next tinapa, or something big if you're an owner, if you're an HR. When are you going to pay? What what will you do with the people who are actually working at home but you don't have assignments for them to do? Fear is common even before the quarantine. In any dangerous or any moment of surprise, there is fear. But now this is the opportune time to be fearful. Distance from friends. My mom is in Legazpi, my sister in Legazpi. So I'm always, in my prayers, in my thoughts, I always thinking about them. And they think about me also. Then the income at risk, especially for those who are daily earners. That is a fear. For us who still have something, the fear is where to buy it. Are you going to fall in line? Then we have the risk of serious health crisis. Ay, so ngarag ako ngayon. Everything has to be disinfected. Then the fear, what will be life after all of this will be over? Ladies and gentlemen, life will not be the same. All of us experiencing this will have a change of mindset. We are now unlocking our mindset. Now is the time that HR is at the fore. Now is the time to review if the KRH is really needed, if the roles, if that position is really needed. So we have to see what is life after all. But this is not the time to panic, not even panic buying. It is a time for deliberate, careful action, collective effort to stop the spread of the virus. That's why we're all, the meaning of this, we're all at home just to think about this. And the fear is actually how to contain it, how to flatten the peak. Then it's time to fortify our minds, enhance our mental health. Since we are suffering, we are actually afflicted. And affliction is a curse to bear. Bear that we are having a curfew. For those who are used to having a nightlife, this is an agony. Oh, this is Holy Week. Of course, I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. We celebrate the agony in the garden. So we are suffering. We are in pain. But again, I mentioned it earlier. The mental affliction is what is most that we have to look into. It's the state of mind that disrupts the peace of mind. So, how is your peace of mind now? Sometimes I get angry with the post. Anger is a mental affliction. Sometimes the your order doesn't come on time. Hatred is a mental affliction. So we have to look of that. We have fear, we are afflicted. But it says that if there is no adversity, there is no growth. And if there is no growth, there is no greatness. This quarantine is a learning experience. We must seize it. This is an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves, to learn what is happening, learn, then we grow so that we will transform. Then our resilience is really being to the fore. How resilient are we to our situation now? That is why we are doing this. This is actually one act of resiliency. That is why we're doing this. This is an act of creativity. So from learning to resilience, we are now forced to being creative so that it will show if how faithful are we with our roles and our missions. I would like to share. I thank the opportunity of PMAP and AIHRM for giving me this because I have that conviction that at this time, learning should not stop. But it is a paradox because later on I will tell you, I'm telling it you now, that we will not really impose productivity on your part. Learning, resilient creativity, and conviction, but you have to just enjoy the luxury of time so that you can build, enhance your character. Talking about your character, you have to strengthen it. Courage in the face of adversity. Adversity becomes us. All of this that is happening, it molds us into the person that we are now. I was telling somebody earlier, if you are really at a work at home situation, sana you were trained, you were empowered by your boss to do it because your boss is not at your back anymore. For all those at the work at home, work from home situation, I appreciate you because you're being reliable, you're being dependable becomes you. Who taught you that? Who told you that? And this quarantine makes us, makes who we are. Then it enhances our qualities. What are the qualities that we have? Excellence. Then we can cook the best adobo that we can do. Creativity, innovation. How many dishes can we do with sardinas? It enhances our qualities. Qualities of, say, being caring, now it will show. Being calm, it will show. So it builds our character. Talking of character, now is the time that it has to be intentional. There should be a direction. Now is the time to think, what is it that I want my character to be molded? Because we have to practice self-discipline. We are not supposed to go out. There is now a law that we must use masks. We have to follow it. And it's the beginning of wisdom. Then we really have to live your principles and values. We have to be accountable. I started with intentional, and the last one is to be accountable in shaping and molding our characters at this time that we are in the quarantine. So strengthen, foster, develop the courage in the face of adversity. This is a third time that I will mention growth. We have the growth that will make us stronger, the growth that will make us reliable, then resilient, so that we can be creative. The ability to overcome obstacles defines us. So, how do we build courage to face fears? Remove all the trivia, the little things, the possibilities, remove them from your mind. Say you are actually now trying to economize, look into what you have. Then you think, is what will happen if there will be an earthquake? What will happen if there will be those are remote things or possibilities? Take it out of your mind. Focus on what is relevant and what is needed at the moment. Don't worry of things you have no control. You are now in your homes, locked up. Look at the locus of your control. Just worry on things that you can control. What is the food tonight? What will be your contribution to the company? How to, to be able to influence other people in their family to cooperate. Then face fears before starting something so that you face it squarely. Then also imagine the difficult situations before they occur because actually all of us in is struggling, we are surviving, and then always think of the alternative. Always have an option. So what are the qualities leading to persevere? Discern the meaning of this. Oh, I read a lot in the Facebook with a post in the group chat of meaningful discernment. You also have to look into it. We have the luxury of time. Think of how it impacts you. What is the meaning of all of this to yourself? Then also be humble to accept that you're vulnerable so that you can connect, so that you can ask for help. I would like to change that mindset that those that who are already having a good in the good economic standing, that they will not anymore be vulnerable later on. Support the relationship with yourself. Try to look at yourself and then see where you are now and surrender yourself with the super being and trust because we are in these uncertain times. But do not forget the sense of humor. Wake up with a smile. Now that you're listening to me, have a smile in your lips. We're talking of something serious. But life is a journey. then there should be calmness, equanimity. You have to be still. The Lord is in charge. Be calm. Do not panic. Everybody is taking care of everybody. We are being asked to stay at home. So stay at home. At least you are a leader if you are complying. Cultivate your perspective and cultivate that mindset of gratitude. To continue to overcome adversity, make sure you have positive emotions. Make sure that it comes from you. You should be the one who should influence your family members now. Make your family members be positive people. Look at this in a positive way. Reflect, and if you have time, write it down. It will be nice if later on you can reread your thoughts today. Have time to sit down and reflect. And of course, I am so blessed because I have a garden. Commune with nature. Listen. Listen what nature is telling us. If you are in a condo, if you are in a house wherein you don't have a garden, sneak out a little and then bring nature to your place. And of course, invest in yourself. Don't tell me it is already the fourth week of the quarantine. You don't, you haven't looked into your hair. Have a haircut. So you don't have time to go to the parlor for our pedicure, for our foot spa. Do it yourself. Those are physical. But what is really needed now is investing in yourself spiritually and mentally. Thank you very much if you're listening to me. At least this is one way of overcoming adversity. So you have to build your self-confidence. You have to look at the mirror. You have to ask yourself and then review what you call inventory of your resources. So you are 24, 32, 39, 54. What is it that you have? What is the inventory? What is it that you know? What is it that the things that you can do? You may not know it because everything will change. It is not actually shifting your careers, but life is a journey. At this time, maybe you're giving the chance to know that you're a good cook, to know that you're a good mentor. At the back of me is a piano. I haven't thought of that, but I can teach piano, teach self-control. That refrigerator is a test for our self-control. Feel self-control by at least taking a break from your cell phone and foster conscientiousness towards others with the people around you. Haven't you noticed? Even my dogs, my pets here, are actually wondering why I am here the whole day. They are used that I am out. So it's the same. So the husband, the wife, the father, the mother, the children are there. Foster conscientiousness. Give them space. It's the time that you have to mentor, step back, step aside, coach them. And as I mentioned earlier, develop that grit. Savor if you understand the difficulties that you're having now, develop that grit and understanding and appreciating. So we have to recommit with ourselves. Recommit to do wise. You are blessed if before the EZQ, you already have a clear mission, vision, and goals in your life. You have what you call your career path. Now it is disrupted. So you have to recommit and try to see, will I still going to venture into this? Then reconnect. Reconnect with reality. Reconnect with your strengths. Then after recommitting and reconnect, we revise it, considering what we have now, or replace it, or eventually remove it. Now is the time that we have to think that later on everything will change. As I mentioned, we have to unlock and change our mindsets. Even the priests in the churches, after the lifting of this quarantine, people will now ask for online mass. For the HR, because we are now used to this work from home, your employees will now insist that they can. So we have to think it over, revise. But we have to go back to ourselves. Revise what are wise. Revise and make it into a realistic how. And then when we have it, we have to rejoice. That's why I told you earlier, write it. Write it down so that you can have something to go back to on your thoughts that you have enough time. Actually, we're passing time. So how do we live through the crisis? We must have your personal resources inventory. If you don't want to write it in your mind. So what are the things? How much do you have? Oh, that is so materialistic. What are the things that you can do? Are the things that you can do aside from the job that you're doing now? Then you have to assess your vulnerabilities, your weakest links. Then come up with a plan, the mitigation plan, the risk mitigation plan. Then included in the plan is your opportunity matrix. Even now, you can have an opportunity matrix. You can even do some business now at your home. Then come up with an action plan now during the quarantine and after. And always consider that there will be changes. It will not be the same. Then do not forget your communication plan, your marketing plan. How are you going to sell it? How I am going to sell that I have here a piano, then I can teach piano. But of course, there should be social distancing. But later on, I can still. It's only now that I have thought about it. Then, of course, also include your cash flow projection. Every one of us must think of our own individual business continuity plan and our organization's continuity plan. And we can come up with a calendar or CAL. So let us conclude the first part of our conversation this afternoon. All fear is rational. So if you are actually suffering, you're actually feeling a little bit negative, that is your animal brain that is working. The animal brain is reactionary. But the other side, it's composed of two sides. The human brain transforms this into power and sees that power should build ourselves and face what threaten and frighten us. So let us seize the quarantine opportunity to reflect and develop ourselves mentally. Actually, we should not impose that we have to be productive. What we are doing, including those in the work from home situations, you are just doing an activity, continuing an activity that you were doing at home, in the office. So we are just passing time to make do with the luxury of time that we have. And always think that it will be great when all this ends. So to conclude the first part, let us pray. Join me in praying this because it will conquer your fear. All of us. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything passes. God never changes. Patience overcomes everything. Whoever has God, nothing matters. God alone suffices. Now, if you like that, join me. Even if you're alone, even if you're with your husband, even if you're children, join me here. Jeff, Carol, join me here. After praying, can you join me with the happy clap? One more. Thank you very much. So let's continue. The second portion, I would like to start with conflict. Man versus self, and we're experiencing it now. Man versus man. Of course, the distancing. Of course, when you see somebody coughs, it's a conflict. Man versus society. Man versus nature. The virus. Man before versus the machine. I am having difficulty with my Wi-Fi. Or some of you having difficulty with your appliances. But again, the last one is the conflict between man versus faith and supernatural. So all of these types of conflict we actually experience, and actually they're experiencing it now. So how do we, what is the antidote for that? How do we foster? How do we develop and strengthen us? This is the time to enhance our emotional intelligence. It says here that emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage our own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, to overcome the challenges and diffuse conflict. Another way of looking at emotional intelligence is understanding ourselves so that we can manage the feelings of others. So we start with the first dimension. It is knowing yourself. So this is the time that we have the luxury of time to really reflect, review, make our own SWOT, not the weaknesses, but our strength, know ourselves, perceive our own emotion, and stay aware of them as they occur. Be mindful, not the inward mindset, but the outward. The inward mindset, you are afraid of people. But the outward mindset is that you are careful not to transmit understanding the impact of your emotion to the other situations. So self-awareness is knowing your preferences, your states, your resources, your intuitions, your gut feel, and how these affect our behaviors. By the way, for ladies, intuition. For gentlemen, gut feel. So your thoughts. What are your thoughts now? What are your mindsets? What are your thoughts? Your to, to what our leaders are doing now? It will affect your behavior. Your belief. Do you believe that gargling with hot water and salt will solve the problem? That is your belief. Your needs to go up, your needs to move around, your feelings. Sometimes you're alone. I can just imagine my niece who is alone in her condo. I can just imagine my friends. So what are they feeling now? And then the values that you have, your self-preservation, your familial values, your career values, your being excellent on what you're doing, then your tendencies, then your virtues. You have to make aware of it. Sometimes we miss it. Sometimes when somebody asks you, this is a simple example. So what shall we eat? Bahala ka. Ikaw, we forgot our preferences or being true to what we really need. The second one is self-management, self-regulation. That is managing yourself. At this time, you must be able to manage yourself. How many of you still wake up early in the morning and you have your routine? Then you have your managing emotional reactions to the specific situations. How many of you, if there are people moving around asking for the forms, selling you things, how many of you are really reacting negatively? So managing one's internal states, impulses, and resources to facilitate our personal, our work, and career goals. So what are the skills needed here? Stress management. A lot of programs were given on how we are going to control stress. We cannot anymore manage time. It was already managed to us by Saint Gregory. We have the Gregorian calendar, 60 minutes. But what is time management? Managing our life to synchronize with time. So time management is actually managing our life that it will be in time. Managing our energy, that our energy should still continue with the longest time that we have now. And of course, our organizing skills. Test yourself now. We are all at home. How is your organizing skill? We may be very, very good in the office. We may have processes, procedures, but do we do that? Do we practice that at home? Then problem and decision making skill, problem solving and decision making skill, collaboration. So if you are an HR person, now you're going to use the KRAs that you are talking about. What is Joe KRAs? What is Carol's KRA? And how are you going to solve it? If everybody in the house knows they know their responsibilities, they know their KRA, then everybody is organized. And of course, our self-protection. That is a self-management skill. Then how we communicate it. I mentioned about those things, what we can control and we cannot control. What are the things that we cannot control? Other people's actions, opinions, feelings. We cannot control what the task force are doing. We may be able to criticize, but we cannot control. But can you see the one in yellow? We cannot control adversities. What we can do is try to comply, cooperate, and try to make sure that the infection is not, the transmission is not really passed from one person to another. So what are the things that we can control? My attitude to what is happening now. My effort that I have to stay at home, to wear a mask, my behavior to comply, to be cooperative, to be collaborative, and to act on it, and to act on it. So you have to think of the things that you can control and the things that you cannot control, and that is actually self-management, which is the second dimension of emotional intelligence. So it can be simply um, expressed By the song, Let It Be. I will not sing the entire song, but it would be nice, join me, if we sing that lines, those in yellow. And in the hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. My point is the word let it be. For self management, if you cannot control it anymore, hayaan mo na. Let nature takes its own course. Let it be. So at this time that we are in the enhanced community quarantine, we have to comply and let it be. So we don't have mantika. So cook something without mantika. Let it be. Hayaan mo na. So let's have the happy clap again. Go. One more. I just hope you're joining me with this happy clap that you are having in our little conversation. The third one is self-motivation, and we need that. The ability to motivate self. Look at the positive side and proactively act and sustain engagement. Look at the positive side and proactive is not only being positive, proactive is a choice, is a decision. So proactively act and sustain your engagement. Engagement start, it's nested in yourself. Emotional intelligence is nested in yourself. So sustain your engagement with yourself. Do not displace it. Do not blame others. Sustainment with yourself. So I have these questions to simply explain self-motivation. What compels us to wake up in the morning? Now that we are in the quarantine. Actually, the answer here is work. You have to wake up because you're going to work. Not actually the work at home, but you're going to cook. You're going to clean the house. So you asked me, I don't know if it, now that you don't have to take that long ride going to the office, so you have to take the time to sleep longer, but what compels you to wake up in the morning? And you must have a smile. The second one, the one in yellow, why am I staying at home? What is that compelling reason? Because it was told? Because there is a law? But why is it? Ask yourself, why is it that you are following that? What is your motivation for staying at home? At this time, after 3 months, it's not anymore that we are going to stay at home because the government would like us to stay home, because we would like to cooperate with the global requirement that we have to flatten and be on a lockdown. We have to already unlock our mindset. What compels us to stay at home? What is it that makes us enjoy that we are staying at home? What do I like to see happen in the future? So it's actually now and the future. Actually, yesterday ended today. Tomorrow is starting today. So focus on today. You focus on what you have now and try to see if you're going still to use it in the future. So reconnect, revisit, and look into your mission. What is your personal mission? I'm very sure all of us, if you're in corporate, you have taken this in your strategic planning, you have taken this in your wave, you have taken this in your team building. But now, honestly, let us try to look what is really your mission in life. We have the luxury of time. And then your vision. How do you look at yourself 4 years, 8 years, 12 years? Life cycle is every after 4 years. Take it or leave it. And what are your goals? What are your goals in life? Are you still going to marry after this lockout? Of course, you should. But it will not be the same. The fourth one is social awareness, knowing others, the ability to accurately pick up on the emotions of other people. Now is the time to know the people around you. Thank God. In your prayers, thank God that we're giving this opportunity to know more your wife, your husband, your children. I have this next slide. You must be able to determine, to discern, just with the facial expression. Try to look at the people around you now. Is there contempt, disgust, or fear that you're listening to me? Or are they happy because you clapped or you sang with me? You must be able to know and be able to discern. Simply, this is a simple explanation of the fourth dimension of emotional intelligence. Who is your best friend? Try to ask yourself. Who is your best friend now in the confines of your home? Who is your best friend in the company? You must have one or a couple. To me, my best friend is Obed. Hi, Obed. And family. We text, talk to each other almost every day. We don't see each other. Who is your best friend? And that is the test now. And do you have a click? Do you have a barkada? At least five. A barkada in your community. I just found out here in Marcelo that I have forgotten my barkada. And you know, they're the ones buying my medicine, buying for me. So I'm so happy. Wow. I was so engaged with what I'm doing. I leave my home early in the morning. I go home so late at night. I forgot that I have a barkada here. So you know what I did? I have a plant here at one of the palm. I gave them yesterday just to remind me that I have five quality barkada. Who are the people that you list now? Now in your family, at your office. It's the time that you have to reconnect through your Viber, through your messenger, reconnect to the person that you list now. Now, it's also the time because you are passing time, the luxury of time. Try to see, do you the people that you don't really like, maybe you can change your attitude. Then who are your coaches, your mentors, the people that teaches you? Try to see, try to recall. And why not thank them? And why not ask them? Again, on the fourth dimension, try to know who are the weakest and try to know how you can contribute to that person. And also, who are the people that you can ask help? Remember the Siddhartha. There will be always be a greater and a lesser person than you are. So think of those who are better than you are and think of those who are less than you are, and then practice the fourth dimension, which is social awareness. Then the last one is relationship management. This is leadership, your social skills, your awareness of your own emotions and the emotions of others, and how effective you are in handling conflicts. What I have lots of concepts here, but I would like to share what I learned from a friend of mine, Lloyd Luna. It is actually a philosophy, but I just want to read a quotation from his book. It's a leadership style that allows a trusted leader to dim his light so that his empowered collaborators can co-create enjoyably, work productively, and ultimately shine brightly. My God, if you are in a work from home situation, this is a step back. Of course, if you can see the one to my right, you step in, you take over, you step up, you step beside, you step back. This is the time that you can coach. This is the time that you can mentor. Coach your children. This is the time that why don't you cascade the values, the visions of your corporate? I know Inquirer has one. I came from Inquirer. So what is the vision? Tell the Filipino story. Why don't we cascade that now to your children? So what is the value? Productivity, excellence, teamwork. Why don't you start cascading that to your family? But you step back so that you can empower them to do it. So how do you, after knowing your emotional intelligence, you now can move into what you call adversity quotient or adaptability quotient. You start with taking accountability of the necessary changes, and you have to be fast. You have to be fast to see it, acknowledge that change is needed, acknowledge that there is a need to repay, acknowledge that there is a need to enhance the attitude of your son, acknowledge that there is a need to review and change the organization, own it, take ownership of the situation, then start solving it. Come up with an action plan and execute those changes now or even after the quarantine. So being agile is dynamically respond to change. How we respond to the changes that is happening, that is a test of our agility. Are we actually astonished that we are a little bit shocked and we move so slowly? Or are we fast, focused, and flexible? You have to boldly face and take the realities. So you cannot cook. So the lavandera cannot come in. All of this, there is a need for us to unlock and change our mindset. And most especially to strengthen critical thinking. We have the luxury of time and we have the time to really look into our thinking process. Still on being agile, dare to be uncomfortable. Seize the moment, seize the opportunity. The more uncomfortable you are, dare to have more risks so that you can have your purposive decision making. It's deliberate. Then you connect with people. Then come up with your own culture. How many of you can really define, can really identify your family culture? I think this is the time that it has to be defined because that will be your legacy later on. But you can only start that by changing your attitude, and it comes from a leader. And you should be the one. You must be influential. You must start your family culture now. It is graduation time. But I cannot go home to Bicol to attend to my grandniece graduation. But the culture should be there. How shall we do it? Its house, its residence, I suggested, must celebrate it. And we have to connect in a group chat, in a Zoom. How are you going to continue to be creative in coming up with your culture? And lastly, for being agile, always see the big picture. It's not your hunger that counts now. It's how this will impact your life later on. We have always to remember that a lot of great things started during a recession, during a lockdown, during a depression. A lot. You just have to look into your posts, and then there are a lot of things that were invented, were organized during the times of conflict, during the times of difficulty. So another, aside from, for the last fifth dimension, aside from step back leadership, I got this from my nephew, who is a priest, Father E.L. We discussed this one time about inordinate attachment. It is Ignatian. And I have, in my regular run training, I have an hour of discussion of this. I'm very sure my best friend Obet knows this. The inordinate attachment. What is it that you're going to bring after your retirement? I experienced that. You cannot bring home your chair. Now, it is there. You cannot bring home what is in the office. So what is the inordinate attachment? These are relationships, your role, your contribution, your achievement. So to be free from suffering, we have to go away from the material things. Free yourself from attachments. And it becomes inordinate. But you know, the Ignatian definition and explanation of this is actually more inspiring. But I will just leave you this for that fifth dimension of emotional intelligence, step back leadership, and inordinate attachment. But we just should not forget the happiness movement. We have to be happy at work. This time you have to be happy at home. So, for all those listening with me, why don't we have a smile? 1, 2, 3, smile. We make a difference. We make a difference. You know, I am always in the online masses, and at the time of the peace be with you, I smile with my kasambahay, with my sons, and it brings a little of lightness. It is a long explanation how to be happy at home. All of us, you have your own style to be happy at home. Attorney John, I was just talking with him earlier this morning. For him to be at home, he cooks. For me to be happy at home, I garden. I play the piano. You have to play with your children. Let's have this movement. Happy at work, happy at home, happy doing work from home. So let's have the happy club last time. 1, 2, go. I just hope you are joining me. So focus on your strengths. I only have a few slides and we are now open for questions. Focus on your strengths, as I have mentioned, to foster, strengthen yourself, the courage to face the realities now, the difficulties now, the affliction that we have. Focus on your strength. Review. What are your resources? I am very sure there is something positive, there is something good, there is a strength that you have. And you can start with your values. Identify the values that you have. Maybe you don't actually, you have forgotten yourself. Strive knowing yourself by trying to ask yourself, what are my values? And from that, you can strengthen your character. Then look at your relevance. How will you look at this? Your contribution, your your role at home, your big role in the office. You should not feel bad if your boss still asks you to do something. Maribel, are you listening to me? I have this group chat with ladies, and that is what we talk. You are very relevant at this moment. So focus on today because you are relevant. I don't know if it is pay back, pay forward, but it is being relevant now. And you have to be happy if you are being required to do it. Then your mission, try to look into that. What is it actually that I want to do with my life and I want to do with others? What is my, at the end of the day, what is it that they will remember me? So with your mission, focus on your priorities. To the people that will really be there with you or for you. The technology of leadership. Are you working for him or are you working with him? So are you working for your family or are you working with your family? Try to ask that tonight before you sleep. And you start with your mission. Then focus on your contribution. As I mentioned earlier, your roles, your KRAs, HR, if you are in the task system already, in your JDs, you know key responsibility areas. And with your roles, you can even up your KPIs. Oh my God. And from your KPIs, you can even identify your competencies. But you start with your role. Now is the time that the father and the mother is there. Now is the time to really identify what is the role of the father, what is the role of the mother. The quarantine taught us that only one should go out. Now, what is your contribution? Focus on your result. So what is the result? You have been eating. So what is the result? You are now stout. And what is the outcome? You may get sick. So what is the result? You have been reading a lot of books that you haven't read before. What is the outcome? Ang talino mo na. So focus on the result and what will be the outcome. And lastly, focus on the positive. What is happening is actually something that is a difficulty. And difficulty, conflict, adversity is something negative. So we have to develop to counter it. Look for the antidote. Let us be positive. How can you do it? How will you start it? Be brave. Be brave that you can be creative. Be brave that you are alone. A lot of my friends, a lot of my nephews are alone in their condos. And what is Tete, Uncle Jesse telling them? Only one. Be brave. And that is the start of being positive. I ended up my first part with a prayer. I would like to end my little conversation by asking you to join me reading the verse 3 of Psalm 91. Let's go. For he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. Thank you very much. If you're asking who is the lady to my left, she is Our Lady of Remedies. That is where I serve as a lay minister and I do the altars. How I miss her because I cannot bring my plants to her this time. And the lady to the right, to my right, is the patroness of Albay, which is Our Lady of Salvation. Salvacion. We pray for her. For calamities, we pray for salvation. And the one in the center is Our Lady of Peña Francia, the patroness of Bicol. So again, for he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. I just hope I made a little dent in your life in this little conversation this afternoon. Joe, I cannot hear you. Joe?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesse. I was reading some of the comments earlier. I don't think we have enough time. And so, for people who have, I'm sure, questions that you would like our speaker to attend to, please send an email or please send a message to our help desk. Now, before we end this, we talked about this because there were comments earlier that I read, and they talked about uh, what they're feeling. There's I've seen statements that could make us think that some of us are anxious, some of us are overwhelmed, sad, confused, stressed, probably bored, some are lonely. And this comes about from what's happening now. Some comments I read were those people working from home and not having enough technology or slow internet, having slow internet. What about those working from home and yet there is no work? So no work, no pay. Forced leaves without pay, no one to talk to, especially for extroverts. Donating 1 month's salary could be a challenge, and sustaining the domain of employees, which is our job, which is well-being. So indeed, this was a very good session. I got a comment from one of our participants who was saying, I wish we had a session like this weeks ago. And so everybody valued the session, but I would like to summarize briefly, and I would like to read the comments from your best friend and mine too, Obed. So Obed says, focus on your circle of influence, which was partly really the gist of what was being talked about here, instead of your circle of concern. Have a positive mindset, have a well-defined goal, have the essentials that intensify further our character, our health, our immune system, our engagement, and pray, meditate,
Thank you,
discern.
Obed.
Let's implore God's graces and guidance. We trust in God. And so with that, please send your concerns and your questions. And I'm sure Mr. Jesse Rebustillo, who's been such a wonderful um, webinar facilitator, would help us answer these questions. We are going to have another seminar, and this one will be on, I believe, it will be on the Department of Labor. So we have to stay tuned, everybody, and that will be the next seminar that we have to uh, focus on right now. But again, thank you so much, Jesse. I myself
Thank
learned a
you.
lot
Be
because
safe
my
all.
emotions have also been in in a Ferris wheel, up and down, up and down. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for this webinar. As I'm reading a comment from Hazel. Thank you.